This is a podcast of 98FM's Dublin Talks. Remember, catch the show live Monday to Friday at 10 a.m.
98FM's Dublin Talks with Adrian Kennedy.
98FM.
Emma, you're on 98FM. How are you, Emma?
Hiya, how are you?
Emma, you had to pull your car over listening to this show. Why?
I'm shaking. I'm fuming. The absolute neck of that woman. Oh, my body is like shaking. I'm fuming.
Tell me your situation. You are a recovering addict.
I'm a recovering addict. I'm recovering from opiates, okay? And, does that woman know that there's 80,000 registered heroin addicts in Ireland and 60 detox beds? Do you think any child wanted to grow up being degraded and called a junkie? It's a disease. And you are so uneducated.
Sorry, Emma, say that. Whoa. Stop, just hold the jets for a second. Did you just say it's a disease?
It's a disease. Addiction is a disease. It's a sickness. Yeah.
It's a disease and a sickness.
If somebody was a stroke victim and they were dribbling, do you think people would look at them like that? These people are sick.
Sorry, no. Emma. Firstly, nobody chooses to have a stroke. Nobody.
Yeah, and nobody chooses to become an addict.
Emma, I'm sorry for your trouble. Emma, hang on for 1 second. In our lives, we all make choices. Some are great choices, some are ridiculous choices. I made a ridiculous choice when I was younger. I started smoking cigarettes and I smoked the poxy things for 35 years. I regret that. That's my fault. That's nobody else's fault except mine. So hang on, Emma. Emma, as an addict or a recovering addict, do you not take any responsibility?
Look, Adrian, the way that we're
No, Emma. Hang on for 1 second.
When we were young, was a choice. We lost the power of control then. We have a disease of the mind. And if you speak to any
Emma, hang on for 1 second. No, hang on. Hang on. As somebody who pathetically, and I'm saying this myself here, who pathetically and stupidly for 35 years smoked horrible, smelly cigarettes, I am blaming nobody. Nobody but myself. Nobody.
Adrian, I'm not pointing the finger here.
You are. Hang on, Emma. No.
And for anybody to treat it as any other way.
Emma, hang on for 1 second. I am not saying that my addiction to cigarettes is a disease. It was an addiction to a thing called nicotine. And the reason I got addicted to nicotine is because I smoked the stupid things in the first place.
And that's fair enough. But heroin addiction and drug addiction is a different situation to just being a smoker, Adrian. It's the same as alcoholism. It's an addiction. It's a disease. It's looked at as a sickness. These people don't have the power of choice anymore. As I said,
Emma, you see, this is the thing that's annoying me. The choice was the choice in the very first place. You know, I know, a 5-year-old knows that heroin is not good news, that it will ultimately kill you. So why would somebody make that choice in the first place?
Because addiction is a fatal disease, Adrian.
No, Emma. Go back to the very start.
I'm in meetings like I do recovery. I'm a recovering addict. I'm involved in loads of services. I'm involved in the prisons. I understand about addiction. You know,
but again, Emma,
the first drug that you put in your system is a choice.
Yes,
but drugs are a symptom of the disease of addiction.
I'm sorry for your troubles, Emma. I'm really sorry for your troubles, Emma. I think that is absolute bull, and the reason I do is you can have two people with the exact same problems in life, and one chooses to take heroin and the other doesn't. Why didn't both of them? If it's that influential,
because they suffer with sickness.
They suffer with the sickness.
They suffer with it's a spiritual thing. They have a spiritual void. It's a spiritual problem, and when you've got a hole in the soul.
Well, there you go, Anne. They have a hole in their soul.
And you know what? I guarantee she found God after that as well.
Look, I have my own interpretation of a higher power. It's not all. I'm not a Bible basher.
No.
You know, I have bigger things than me because addiction was bigger than me.
Right,
you know,
you
I
put
never wanted.
drugs into your own system. No one told you to do that. Or
Nobody did. Nobody told me to put drugs into my system. I didn't know how to cope. I was sick.
Sick?
I wasn't well. I wasn't mentally sound.
Listen, that's an excuse. All, as you don't like me saying, junkie say. My mind wasn't with it. I had things going on in my own life for years.
You see, Emma, what I'm hearing here is excuses for a poor decision.
Look, Adrian, I'm not saying there's any excuse. There's no excuse now for me to go out and take a drug. There's no excuse for that. Not one excuse. I have a program now with recovery that I can refer to. You know, I have a lot of support, but not everybody out on the streets.
Again, Emma, I'm going to bring you back to, some people will say it's a worse addiction. Some people say it's not as bad an addiction. But I, for 35 years, had an addiction to cigarettes, and the only thing that stopped me was me.
Exactly.
Nobody else. All the ads on the television, none of that had an effect on me.
And that's the only thing that will stop an addict. Your children won't stop, your homeless won't stop.
So why are you blaming everybody else?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not blaming anybody. I'm just saying these people are sick, and to degrade them by calling them a junkie instead of having sympathy and offering support to people who are educated.
Well, Emma, was I sick for 35 years smoking cigarettes?
A junkie?
Was I sick?
Look,
I couldn't give them up.
Because she's nothing to
Adrian,
say.
I couldn't give them up.
And nobody is calling you anything. The word is that woman degrading sick people on the streets who have no other means. They have to beg. They are sick. Do you know the withdrawal of heroin? They are sick.
Get the fucking fix.
Mind the language, please.
But that's what they're doing.
Hold on a second. Do you know anything about heroin withdrawals? These people are physically and mentally and spiritually sick. No, you go away.
Okay, here, I'm going to calm it down for a second. 6797981 is our telephone number. You can text or WhatsApp the programme. 087 98 98 98. Jeff, you're on Dublin's 98 FM. How are you, Jeff?
How are you, Adrian?
Good, Jeff. What do you want to say on this?
Well, your woman Emma is talking shit in any way, right? Because she said that she knows everything about heroin addiction, blah, blah, blah. Oh, she's probably in a rehab that are after giving her methadone, right?
Are you on methadone as a matter of interest, Emma?
I was never on methadone.
Okay, never. Okay, Grant.
Well, another thing is, she's saying that your woman doesn't know about withdrawals or things like that. I was ill for a while, you know that yourself. And I was put on Oxy, which is basically prescription heroin. Right? Now, I stopped them myself. I was on them for 3.5 years. I didn't go for any rehab. I didn't go for any methadone. I didn't wean myself off. I stopped.
That's because you're not an addict. You don't suffer with the disease of addiction. How was you weren't an addict? You were physically addicted, but you don't suffer with addiction. So it's a difference. You're coming from a totally different playing field. You give anybody enough opiates, they're going to get physically addicted. But addiction is a disease of the mind.
You not listen to what I said.
I listened to what you said.
Right, well, let him speak.
Addicts don't have the choice of willpower. Addicts can't just say, I've had enough. This is grand now.
Sorry, hang on, Emma, you just said addicts don't have the choice of willpower.
Yeah. If they had willpower, there'd be no heroin addicts getting their kids taken off them.
Hang on, Emma, stop. How is it that addicts can actually stop if they don't have the ability to use willpower?
They need to go into treatment, Adrian, get removed from the drugs, and then get on a program of recovery.
Adrian.
Yes, go on.
I was on Oxynorm, right, and OxyContin, right, which are the most strongest painkillers you can get, right? They're opiates, right? It's exactly the same as heroin. I was addicted to them, right? And the reason I stopped them because I knew I was addicted, and I got low when I spilled stuff on the floor, and I thought about getting down the fucking floor to get it up.
Mind the language, Chef, please.
Sorry. But your woman saying that I don't know about addiction, I was addicted to them. Because I didn't go down the road and buy it off the wayside on the corner. No difference.
But there's a difference between a physical addiction and being an addict. There's a difference.
When you were a junkie, because that's what you were. I guarantee you, when you were a junkie, you were off buying Oxynorm and benzos and everything else. So don't tell me you weren't.
Yeah, and I was prescribed them by the doctors as well.
You were. You don't know what you're talking
Hold
about.
on, you don't know Anne. Who's a Phil? I bet you're much more educated than you, and you don't know what you're talking about.
Hang on.
Absolute necky.
Sorry, hang on. Emma, the guy does know what he's talking about.
What I'm saying is, Adrian, there's a difference
You
between
seem to be
physically addicted and being an addict. There's a difference. There's a massive difference.
And, okay, in one sentence, describe to me or explain to me what the difference is.
Okay, being physically addicted to something, you can stop. Being an addict, there's a whole ballpark. It's you have a disease of the mind, and you get mentally obsessed with things when you put something into your body. We don't have the power of choice. We don't have the power of choice. Like, if I was to go now and even to put a drink into my body, that'd set me off, and I don't know if I'd see the end of that. Really.
Emma, this conversation started from the use of the word junkie and how it offends how it offends so many people. Can I tell you that in the last 10 minutes since you've come on this programme, I'm now having more complaints about you than I did about the original use of the word junkie. And the reason being, because you were describing a drug addiction as a disease. And people who have suffered from cancer, people who have suffered from all sorts of illnesses are disgusted with you comparing a chosen drug addiction to cancer.
Well, listen, Adrian, right? In the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, okay, that's where 2 million people have gotten sober and clean worldwide because of this book, and it's looked at internationally as a disease. If you ask any healthcare professionals, addiction is a disease. Now, I understand that cancer patients, they all, and people with dementia and stuff like that, they all have their own problems, but nobody was born wanting to be an addict. It's a sickness, Adrian. And we're not looking for compassion. We go out and we make our amends and we go and sort out our own lives, you know, and then become taxpayers and good parents and I'm a good daughter again, you know, I'm a sister. All that stuff which I should have been.
Emma, you must understand the amount of addicts that the average Dubliner sees on a daily basis that we see contributing nothing to our society.
I understand, but there's a lot of recovering addicts, Adrian, as well, that contribute to do more than their fair share. But like, the state don't put enough into rehabilitation of drug addicts. The waiting queues to get into Coundara and Beaumont and detoxes, it's off the wall. Like, people are dying on the streets, and to be called a junkie when people don't want to be going around like that. Or do you think when I was actively using that I didn't want to leave my child,
Emma,
you know?
Emma, over the last 10 or 15 over the last 10 or 15 years, since smoking cigarettes has become such an antisocial thing where you're out in the cold smoking a cigarette, over the last 15 years, I have felt people over and over again saying, you gobshite, you dirty looking idiot, you shouldn't be going out smoking, give the bloody things up, you're a fool, all of this, every bit of which I agreed with, but I didn't take offence by it.
Yeah, but
because they were right.
Junkie is a derogatory term, and I'm not saying drug addicts. Look, we all have to be held accountable for things that we do. I hurt a lot of people, you know, and I try and make that up now. I try and not hurt anybody on a daily basis. But it's like the word knacker, and it's like the word nigger.
Okay, stay there for a second. Where am I going now? Chris, you're on 98 FM. How are you, Chris?
How are you, Chris? All right.
Good. Very quickly, Chris. What do you want to say?
I was a cocaine junkie. I was a junkie, and that's the end of it. You're a junkie or a junkie. There's none of this crap. You're an addict. I'm a recovering junkie, not a recovering addict.
And why do you class yourself as that?
That's disgusting.
That's just the word.
Speaking
about yourself. Cocaine, I'm morning, noon and night. And I don't call myself a recovering addict. I'm a recovering junkie. You do want to get the shit when you're on it.
Okay, earlier on, I spoke to a lady who befriended a recovering addict who said that being described as a junkie made him feel worthless. If I call you...
That's another word, isn't it?
So if I call you as somebody who was strung out on cocaine, you are a former junkie, are you?
Former junkie, yeah, recovering junkie. That's what you are.
Yeah, he's not recovering if he's speaking about himself like that. That's not recovery. So he's
well, Chris,
hold on, that's not recovering.
Chris, are you off the stuff?
I'm off it, yeah.
And what are you recovering from? Because I think you're full of bullshit.
Oh, okay, listen.
Yeah, we're recovering. You're on the radio talking shite, yeah. Because anybody that's recovering doesn't get on the radio and turn around and say, I'm a junkie, and start laughing about it when you know that what you had was terminally fatal. Like.
Emma, I have spoken to drug addicts who are happy to describe themselves as junkies. You may not know any of them, but I've spoken to...
No, I mean, you, and some people will have a laugh about it. But in an actual setting where people are degrading people and looking down on them, it's different.
Let me just read a message before I wrap this up. Emma, you chose to take that first hit. A disease is not chosen. Did my uncle choose to die from cancer? No. Do not insult people. Grow up and accept responsibility. You chose that lifestyle. What do you say to that?
All I say was, drugs are just a symptom of addiction, okay? Now, like, Adrian, I have to take responsibility for what I've done in the past. I'm not debating that. But to go around calling people junkies is disgraceful, and anybody down that I'd want to go and have a hard look at themselves.
How are you in your recovery, Emma?
I'm doing really well. I'm employed. I'm just after leaving work there. I've got 2 kids. I drive. Great relationship with my family. Lovely relationship with my partners who's in recovery, and all my friends are in recovery. We're going over to Glasgow now for a CA convention. That's Cocaine Anonymous. 11 women, 11 mothers representing CA Ireland on the first week of October. Everything is going great in my life.
Good to hear that. Thanks for talking to us, Emma.
Okay, thanks, Adrian.
This is 98FM's Dublin Talks.
The show getting Dublin talking.
Every morning from 10.
Adrian Kennedy.
Dublin Talks on 98.